Right, hi, welcome guys. So this is John Conally, the chap I've always been talking about on my on some of my videos, and like I say, this is the chap that's done a lot for me as well. So would you like to introduce yourself, John?
Hello guys, Paul's very kindly invited me to talk and to hopefully come up with some interesting stuff for you all. Okay, Paul?
Cool. Okay, so when we first met, John, we met on the CUF training.
Yeah.
And that was about raising awareness of personality disorder.
Yeah.
And your field is about homelessness.
Yes.
And so what made you want to come on the PD course, or the personality disorder course?
When I took up my job at NHS counselling service for homeless people
Can you speak up a little bit?
in central London.
Sorry.
Yeah, sure. I realised that most of the basic standard techniques I'd used in the past didn't seem to work. So this really puzzled me, and I slowly began to realise that part of the reason for that was that maybe a lot of the people we were seeing at the service might have a horrible medical label, what's called personality disorder, but which I understand more as having a traumatised personality, that as the personality is developing in the childhood years, something happens which traumatises the personality, and that's how I understand personality disorder. So I realised that I wanted and I needed to understand and know a lot more. So the CUF training, which is a national framework financed by the Department of Health and the Ministry of Justice, to raise awareness and understanding of these issues amongst the workforce, I felt this would be the right way for me to begin. And that's where I met you.
Yeah.
Because I was lost. I couldn't find my way to the seminar room, and I saw this amiable, friendly looking man who seemed to know where he was going, and I remember asking you where the room was, and then you pointed me to it. So I went to it, and then to my amazement, a few minutes later you walked in through the door and you were part of the course as well.
Yeah. Okay, so what sort of I'm now struggling to find the question.
Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, okay, so in terms of the anger group that we co-developed, I have no idea how to frame the question, sorry.
That's alright. It doesn't matter.
Can you think of anything that you would like to say? Because I have completely dried up and I can't think of a damn question now, sadly.
Okay. Well, maybe if we pick up the story some more, our stories, so then, so then I remember on that CUF day, I remember we had lunch together, and you began to share a little bit, I think, about your story, and I became really quite amazed and impressed at what I was beginning to hear. You know, that you'd been homeless yourself on the streets for over 20 years, that you yourself had been labelled with personality disorder, and I was absolutely astounded that here you were, being friendly, speaking to me, sharing your story with me, after that kind of journey and that kind of label. And I suddenly realised, wow, this person has an enormous amount of experience, insight to offer others. So I remember then that I asked you for your contact details, because I felt at the time that I would probably want to be contacting you again because I was convinced that you had a lot to offer. And I think that's how it started. So then I think Westminster Council approached me, and they were very aware that there weren't any anger management or anger therapy groups around for homeless people, and I was very keen to give that a shot, and I immediately thought of you. I immediately thought of Paul because of your journey and your wealth of experience.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. And from my perspective, it was like maybe if I just kind of slightly backtrack just a little bit in terms of when we went for lunch that time on that day. And from my perspective, it was funny because I remember, it's funny how this sticks in my mind as well, is that I'll never forget sitting at that table because there was you, there was, I can't remember how many other people, about at least 2 or 3 other guys,
Yes.
all professional people like yourself and what have you. And of course that cafeteria that we were sat in is also meant for staff for that hospital, really. You know, patients weren't necessarily, I don't know if that policy's changed or not, but at the time it was kind of like you didn't really get patients being in there. Now, okay, I was an ex-patient, but still, you know, so from that context of being a patient all that time in that ward, right next to where that cafe was, and so the thing is, from my perspective, I still felt very, very much a fish out of water in a sense. And I remember distinctly thinking to myself as I'm looking around and you guys are having your conversations about this, that, and it all sounded very scientific-y and very, what's the name, beyond my, bit beyond my comprehension, not completely, but, and I sat there thinking to myself, wow, what have I got in common with these guys? I'm like, they're all like really intelligent, flipping, do you know what I mean, learned people and professional and blah, blah, blah. What the heck have I got? Why am I sat at the table with these guys? Do you know what I mean? I've got nothing in common. It's like, I just felt so... But then the magic of the whole thing was that you didn't forget that. You, out of all of those people on that table, were very sensitive to the fact that how I might have been feeling. And that's what I really appreciated, to be honest. The fact that, like, because you actually made a point and said, oh, we do right, and then tried to incorporate me in the conversation.
Did I? Okay.
Yeah,
I
no,
can't remember those details.
Honestly, you see, things like that stay with me, John. Do you know what I mean? And I remember as clear as day that, you know, something, if you ask me what I did last week, I might struggle to tell you. But that was a special moment for me, it really was, because, like I say, I did feel very, very much out of water, very much inadequate. Felt very much like I did for most of my life, and especially when I was a kid. That felt very much inadequate from all the people around me, and inferior to everybody around me. And the fact that you included me in that conversation and treated me like an individual, like an equal. Do you know what I mean? You really did. Do you know what I mean? Whereas the other guys were kind of like, I think maybe for them they might have felt just uncomfortable. Oh, it's an ex-patient, or I don't really know how to treat this guy, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Oh, this guy is professional like me, or I know how to respond with this guy. But like I say, you made the effort. Do you know what I mean? You did. You made the effort to include me in the conversation, and it made me feel a little bit more relaxed. And then I started to try and articulate whatever I was. I can't remember exactly what I said after that, but I mean, you know.
Well, that's great. That's great. That's great. I think, from my point of view, I think that's always been my approach to life anyway, that I think human beings, any human being, is worthy of respect and is worthy of inclusion.
Yeah.
Which is why I think I probably ended up doing the profession I'm doing. And I think it's that more personal philosophy that's shone through the professional trainings. I suspect.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah.
Well, that's great. That's really valuable insight there, Paul. Thanks.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then, like you say, I mean, then we exchanged phone numbers, and then, like, I must admit, I wasn't too sure whether I'd hear back from you or not, kind of thing, at that point. And I guess I kind of just put it on the back burner, but I didn't. I must admit, if I'm really honest, I didn't get that sense that, like, you know, with some people, they do, they sort of like, oh yeah, we definitely do, and then, you know, it's just never going to go anywhere, sort of thing. But I didn't really get that from you. But because I've had that so many times before, it was kind of like, I'm erring on the side of caution kind of thing, really. But I didn't completely think that you'd never get back to me. But of course, you did. I can't remember how long it was. Not about 3 weeks later or something, I think it was.
I think so. And I remember now, it wasn't actually about the anger group. It was about...
the Hopkinson House.
Yeah, it's about a hostel, wasn't it? A hostel. Yeah, it's about a hostel for homeless people. And I'd been invited to go in there and provide some groups, and I immediately thought of you as a co-facilitator, because of your experience, but also because of your articulateness, because of your creativity, which you told me about, that you're an artist and you do quite a lot of artwork. And I felt also because of your compassion, because of your deep compassion for people who were at a very different stage of their life journey to the stage that you'd reached. And I felt all of these assets would be incredibly valuable to help reach people who found it difficult to reach out or to trust anything that was offered.
Yeah. And I must admit, I value that experience as well. I really enjoyed that experience. You know, going in there, obviously we did a little one-day impromptu a couple of hours sort of impromptu art group type thing. And I really loved it. I really enjoyed it because I've got no formal training as a teacher or anything like that, and I was kind of just passing on my skills. But it was really rewarding and fulfilling. And the fact that, like, you know, it was also a vehicle for the guys to be able to start opening up a bit about themselves, and it was just a nice informal sort of arena for them to be able to just explore stuff in a safe way, I felt, sort of thing. And it was really good. I really enjoyed it.
Then I remember we also set up an alcohol discussion group at the time.
Yeah.
And I thought that was very interesting, and I thought lots of very interesting things were happening there.
Yeah, definitely. That again was a really interesting experience. It really was. And it was interesting from my point of view as well of how I tried to manage that environment when people were getting a bit leery, when they'd had a few and this, that and the other, and because obviously I didn't want to offend them, but at the same time I wanted to try and give other people a voice as well, sort of thing. And there was some people chipping in all the time, and then it was funny because one of the guys we invited along to come and talk, the way he handled it was quite interesting, because again he did it in a compassionate way and an understanding way and a gentle way, but also at the same time very commanding in a sense, because again this particular person I'm thinking of, and again I won't go into details, but this person himself had gone through probably a hell of a lot more than I'd gone through, and I've been through a lot, and this person came from a background of essentially not being a very nice person, really, essentially, from his own words. This is his own words, you know what I mean? That he had that capacity to be able to control the situation so he didn't get out of hand, but at the same time be compassionate towards them. Do you know what I mean? And I was just like, wow, that's amazing that you could do that.
And it's an incredibly delicate balance to get right.
Yeah.
And it requires a continual attention to it, and continual recalibrating.
Yeah.
The relationship. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
I can't remember how long we did that for. It was certainly over a year, wasn't it? A year, 18 months?
I think so.
I
can't quite remember myself now, but yeah, because we did have a few stops and starts and what have you, sort of thing. So that's why it makes it difficult to remember exactly how long. But
and then we got incredibly positive feedback, didn't we?
We did
from the hostel staff, management, and yes, and that's what led us to write our paper.
Yes. Yeah, that was another interesting experience to co-write a paper, which I'd never done before. So that was cool.
And that was very interesting for me as well, because one of my psychotherapy mentors, Irvin Yalom, he's an American psychiatrist, psychotherapist. He's in his 90s now,
right?
And he retired from Stanford Medical School maybe 20, 30 years ago. But he's written many best-selling books on the process of psychotherapy.
Right.
And he's an incredibly humane person. And I was very influenced by his brand of psychotherapy. And he was one of the first to co-author a book with one of his ex-patients.
Oh, wow.
So that she'd write a chapter, he'd write a chapter, and they alternated. And this came out maybe in the 80s, 1980s.
Right.
And I was very struck by this. But that's what gave me the idea. I thought, wow, you know, that it would be wonderful to do a similar thing. So it was great. I thought it was a very enjoyable process and a very enriching process.
Did you actually have you read that book then that he did?
Yeah.
Oh right,
sure.
Okay, yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
But it hasn't been done much in the literature, in the profession.
No, I've got you.
I don't think.
Yeah. No. It doesn't sound like it would have been necessarily, but wow, that's fascinating. No, it really is. Wow. So yeah, okay. Shall we perhaps mention our little idea for our little new possible project of filming the homeless, and then we might have some discussions. I'll just quickly tell the viewers that we're thinking of setting up a regular little sit-down chat thing about the homelessness issues and stuff, and we're going to hopefully try and make it a regular thing and sort of explore the sort of issues around homelessness and stuff. So that's our little project at some point that we hope to do. Yeah.
Great.
Cool. Okay.
Well, thanks very much, guys, and hopefully kind of log in sometime soon.
Yeah, fantastic. And please subscribe. It's absolutely free, doesn't cost a penny. Cheers. Thanks guys. Catch you guys later.